section, you see. I'm just I don't know if there's any audio on this actually. Have my Blue Nessie on? Blue Nessie. Yes, it is good. Right, so anyone who's watching, and there's nobody, I'll be starting up in a minute or two. Stretching my shoulders. Ooh, get nice and loose. Having a scratch. Right, so we have got facey booky things happening. Yep, I'm live now on 3D Palace Game Development and 3DFX, which is CG Pirates. I am on YouTube, hello YouTube, and I am on Twitch, hello Twitch, and I'm on my own website, hey. So, what am I going to do? Well, even though doesn't look like there's many people watching, but I'll say hello anyway. There we go, hello all and sundry. So what I'm going to do is I am going to create a new project. So I'm going to go into games and click next. And then inside here, okay, I'm just going to create a third person. And I do that just to do my look dev bit. Okay, I just want to kind of be able to see what I'm doing and stuff. For my project name, I'm going to call it Workbench. That way I can just delete it when I'm finished. So there we go. I've created a project. And you can't see sugar lumps, so let's just... Yeah! Wasn't that cool? Okay, so Unreal Engine is loading. I've made an empty Workbench template in third person. So give it a minute. You can see up there, Bertie was the last person to join us as a follower, or whatever you call it. So, sup Bertie. I've been a 3D Palace and CG Pirates member for a long time. Not as long as my beard, but still pretty darn long. Okay, so what are we going to do? Well, I will show you. So I'm going to go to my view options and change my thumbnails because they're too big. And I want to go to File, New Level. And I'm going to create a default level. There we go. I'm going to move the ground over to the left. Now I'm assuming you have a little bit of skill or a little bit of understanding in Unreal Engine. If you don't, anyway, pardon me. Right, so what I want to do is I want to create some objects just to test my material on. So I need a cube, hello cube, and I want a sphere, and I definitely want a cylinder. Okay, so 3 objects. And the reason I picked these isn't just because I'm trying to recreate a very old Electronic Arts logo, but because I also want to have 3 different kinds of shape just to test this out on. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to go to my content, right click, create a new folder and call it assets. And then inside that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new material. Pop, like so. Okay, and I'm going to call this my Fresnel underscore master, well, Fresnel refraction master material. And save it. Hello viewers, how you doing? If you're just watching this and you have no idea what I'm doing, don't worry, just tap your keyboard and it'll look like you're being clever. Anyway, for those of you who want to work out a bit more about Fresnel refraction shaders, so this is our end node. This is our actual shader in Unreal Engine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change its material domain from surface. Sorry, no, I'm going to keep its material domain the same. I'm going to change its blend mode rather to translucent. And when I do that, you'll notice it darkens out metallic speck and roughness, which I need. So what I'm then going to do is scroll down a little bit, okay, until I get to this, my translucency. And I've got a few things I can do here, but the most important one is to change my lighting, non-directional here, to surface translucency volume, which is more expensive in calculating, but gives us these top 4 slots now, plus opacity and refraction. Okay, so how are we going to use these? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hold 3 and click, and that will give us a 3 vector output for colour. Here we are, it's a constant. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change all of these to 0.9, well, 0.89 in that case, and that will give us roughly a very light grey, okay, like so. And I'm just going to feed that into my base colour. And it'll take a few moments to update because it's a more complicated shader. Now what I want to do bye-bye viewer, I knew that you couldn't hack it, I'll miss you, is I'm going to hold down 1 and click 8 times. 1, 2, leaving a space between those 2, 3, 4, leaving a space, 5, 6, leaving a space, 7 and 8. Okay, and I am going to select all 8 of these and right click. I'm going to convert these to parameters. Okay, so now these are editable parameters, and if I make an instance material I'll be able to change the actual content. So the first parameter name is going to be, let's see, metallic front. This one is going to be metallic side. This one is going to be roughness front. Okay, because we want to be able to drive all of these using a Fresnel, and this one's going to be roughness side, because that's the way materials work with transparency and translucency. The side tends to be different to the front, yeah, in its reflectivity and in its refraction. Okay, we've got that. So now what about opacity? Well, we want opacity front, and then opacity side. I was teaching this earlier and I thought, well, I might as well make a quick video on it. And then over here in parameter 6 and 7, we want parameter 6 to be refraction front, and this one to be refraction side. Now don't use this in a game unless you're controlling everything pretty tightly, because otherwise, you know, it's going to use a lot of resources. So just to warn you. This is more suitable really for Viz, although in a higher end game you can use this. Okay, so now I have these 8 values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and make a Fresnel, and I'm going to drag in a Fresnel function. And I'm going to control the power of my Fresnel function by hitting 1 and clicking just to create a single vector constant. Right click, convert it to parameter, and I'm going to call this my Fresnel power. There we go. So Fresnel power, and I'll feed my Fresnel power into here, and I'll set my default value of 1.2. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to make 4 linear interpolates. So I'm going to hold down L and click, 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 and click. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed values A and B, front and back, sorry, front and side, and my alpha will be the result of my Fresnel function. Okay, so do that for all of these. Just follow along. You can do tongue pops if you want. Can't do a tongue pop today, but I'm sure that, you know, you can do a tongue pop for me. No, can't do it. Hello Alex, you've already seen this I believe. I'm just going over it just to add it to my collection, because it's always useful to have these. So I'm just building some quick functions up. So there we go. So now that's done, okay, I'm going to feed my metallic one obviously into my metallic, roughness, you can see that, and then I want my opaque. So useful for creating glass, this one, or Pyrex or anything else, and refraction. Okay, so we have all these. Now I'm going to right click this one, right click, convert to a parameter, and I'm going to call this one, yeah, I believe it does, Alex, I believe it does. So that's why I've set it to 1.2. Parameter name is color tinting. At least that's my assumption anyway. Okay, so now that I have that done, I'm going to save my material, and once this is saved and compiled, which takes a couple of minutes, it'll then spit out the other end, and it'll be a very boring looking material. So it'll have like no warping or any of that kind of thing that we might want if we want to give the effect of a thick glass or a heavy lens or something like that. But that's okay. Nearly finished. Ay. Come on, me beauty. Right, so that's done, and we've got this really boring looking shader here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and create a material instance, and I'm going to call this cube. Okay, so my cube I will drag onto the cube, And we can see this is what happens when we have everything set in boring vision. So, you know, there's some strength to our Fresnel, but it's not particularly interesting. Okay, so now let's go into this and let's change our outputs. So I've got everything here selected, and I'm going to change my Fresnel to, let me see, let's get an IOR and refraction list here. So glass is about 1.5. And I'm going to change my metallic front to, that's how shiny it is on the front, 0.1, and on the side 0.5. Opacity on the front, I want it pretty transparent, so 0.05, going up to 0.35, so less on the side. And then refraction, so 0.1, 0.2, okay, and roughness on the front and side, so roughness 0.1, and on the side 0.35 again. Now then, I think I probably may need to turn these around, 0.35, 0.1, that's better, 0.2, 0.1, 0.35, 0.05, much better. Okay, so let's do a little bit of tweaking there. Now, I'm going to change my colour tinting on this to a little bit of blue, there we go, and then save. And now we can see that it's done a better job, so it looks much more realistic as a refractive material. Okay, so I think I've lost my tool I was using there, which is rather annoying. I'm going to just right click this one and create a new material instance and call it sphere. And I've got caps lock on, so that's why it looks silly. And let's just turn everything on again. Okay, and I'm going to change my Fresnel power down to 1.1. See what a difference that made there straight away, by the way. Okay, metallic front 0.5, metallic side 0.1, 0.15 against 0.025, refraction front 0.8. Okay, so now I can adjust these. .5 against 0.25 and 0.15 against 0.3. There we go. Save. Okay, so now if I apply sphere to there, you'll see we have a very, very different, much stronger look. If I just click play, look how much warp we're getting on that now. Lovely, lovely lens effect. Okay, and then finally for the cylinder, right click, create material instance, cylinder. If I go into that one and just change all of its tint values again, and everything else as well. We've got some quite high values I've put in for things here, so I'm going to change this to 0.25 against a 0.05. Now the refraction is really high, so I'm going to change that to 0.1 against 0.025. Save. Stick that on there. Okay, and now if I click play, so you can see the values of modifying the refraction values and the metallic values and all the other values and what they've done to this. Now again, this is quite a heavy shader, so I only advise you to use it, you know, if you really need it. If you can get away with faking glasses and things, do that by all means. I'm just going to do a quick build so that I get some shadow. We won't get caustics with this, just in case you're wondering. Map check complete, one error. That error is that the lighting's not built. Nearly done. Nearly done. It's just writing the file now. I can't do anything while it's doing this. It just takes over the screen. Come on, wee puppet. You can do it. There we go. Right, so there we go. It's now done everything. It's made, like, you know, if there were shadows here that we could actually see, it would have made the shadows. It's cooked everything, and our level looks all lovely and shiny. I'm just going to throw a basic material onto the floor, so I'll go into my starter content, materials, and I think I've got a tiled floor I can use. There it is. Pop. Click play. There we go. So there's our three simple materials. Well, they're not simple, but you know what I mean. Most of the time, I mean, by all means, tweak it if you want to. The whole point is that we've got a basic kind of template that we can use here for the shader. So, oh, that's my alarm telling me I've got stuff to do. So, obviously, if you want to control your specular, then by all means do so. I wouldn't necessarily link your specular to the Fresnel though. I'd have it controlled just by probably a single vector input. Although, obviously, if you want the specular to change at the edges, which is realistic, I suppose, then you may want to connect it to the linear interpolate node and use a Fresnel to drive it. Really, it's down to how detailed you want to get. I mean, if you want a very detailed end product, then you're going to want to put in all the bells and whistles. If I just change this, thin it a bit, hang on a second. There we go, just so I've got a lens, just because I fancied one. Yeah, if you just want to kind of tweak it and change it a bit, you can. It's very versatile. It's a very versatile system. Right, I am hitting past, and I have got work to do, unfortunately. Pow! I love that. Don't you love that? This thing. You know, I've got a website called CG Pirates, so I thought I might as well pirate theme it. Marvellous. Okay, so I am going to sign off, and I look forward to seeing, well, you, Alex, and anyone else who turns up in the streams next time I stream. Bye-bye.